Okay, so I'm doing this video as a follow-up to a video that I did a few months ago titled Yet Another Terrible Photoshop Job in the Steven Avery Case. I've wanted to do this video for a while. I've just been really busy and I hadn't had the opportunity, but I want to do a follow-up because I feel that this specific photo, the mistake that was made in this specific photo, is too important to not do a follow-up video to clarify some of the things for the people that just either didn't see what I was pointing out and didn't understand. As far as how I caught it, I guess I have a unique history as far as experience that enabled me to be able to catch this mistake. My automotive experience goes back to when I was working on cars with my father. I always spent time tinkering under the hood of old classic cars with him. I went to auto body school. I worked at a restoration shop for years where I tore cars completely apart, old muscle cars and hot rods and classic cars. I tore them all completely apart, would restore the car, all the pieces, and then put them back together again. After that, I moved to a collision shop where I essentially painted cars, newer model cars, disassemble, reassemble, collision shop. Of course, after that, I moved down to photography and graphic design and Photoshop, and I've been doing that ever since. But the combination of these two made it so that when looking at these photos, I caught this mistake. Now, this mistake, like I said in the first video, is not essentially a Photoshop mistake like a poor masking job like they did in other videos. This mistake is because the person that was doing the altering was not referencing what the physical car looks like, how the car physically is supposed to be when they were doing the altering. Now, why alter any photos essentially in a situation like this? Because there was just something that they didn't want us to see. There's something that they obviously wanted to cover up. What exactly is that thing? Well, that's what we're essentially going to find out. Obviously, I don't have the answer to that. All I can point out is that it's wrong. It's just physically wrong the way they made this rear bumper cover specifically look. The Photoshop, actually the altering work is not too bad. It's just the fact that they didn't do it too bad of a job changing the bumper to look different than it's supposed to be on the actual car. That was their big mistake. So I'm not going to go into Photoshop because this doesn't have anything to do with whether me showing like a poor masking line. This has to do with the fact that it's just physically not the way the picture shows. Okay, this is something that you can go find a 99 RAV4 and look at the rear bumper cover yourself and see. So I'm doing it this way because in the last few videos I did the voiceover of the screen recording and I pointed stuff out with the cursor, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like people didn't quite understand what I was pointing at because of I guess how I presented the video. So this time I'm displaying everything on a larger television. I have the ability to specifically point things out, and hopefully this makes it a bit easier. I'm going to take the camera and move it a bit closer to the screen right now, just so it's easier for you to see what's going on the screen. But of course, I'm going to be pointing to everything and talking throughout the whole thing. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible because apparently in the comments of other videos, the length of the video is somehow more important than the content. But for that reason, I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible. Okay. Okay, so this is the video that I had put out a few months ago. To just clarify something at the beginning of this video, in the video I presented a newer model, smaller SUV. This is a newer model RAV4. I know it was a newer model RAV4. I stated in the video that I knew, but the specific reason why I was showing this photograph is because it's not as easy to find a photo of a 99 RAV4 without the rear bumper actually on the car. But this is essentially what rear quarters look like under the bumper covers, okay? And that's why I wanted to show that this is how the bumper cover still goes on a 99 RAV4. Okay, this is how the rear bumper covers actually go on. So I just wanted to clear that up in the beginning, that I know it wasn't a new, that what I'm showing here has nothing to do with whether it's a 99 or if it's a bit newer. It's just how the bumpers get attached. Okay, so this is the photograph that I'm specifically talking about, where they essentially altered it, and it's just physically wrong. It's literally not the way the car the way the bumper goes on the car. Okay, so specifically it's this part up here. This is this section right here. I'm just zoomed in on this guy. So right now they want us to believe that you have this strange gap, like this body line comes here like this and goes up, and then this body line goes forward. That's wrong. Okay, then they want us to believe that you have this piece of sheet metal, you have this body line right here, and then you have this, then the sheet metal just continues, and this guy comes up to the car and meets right there. Okay, so this right here, anybody that's thinking, oh, that's just JPEG compression, or it's what happens when you make a copy of a copy, that's wrong. Making a copy of a copy of a copy, or scanning and then uploading and then taking from the internet, it's not going to physically change it. It's not going to add the body line. It's not going to bring the bumper line down here and the actual body line right there. It's not going to do that. So right now, the way that they want us to think this goes is, if you pretend that I cut the car in half and you do a cutaway, you're looking at this from the side, they want us to think that the body line comes down like this, goes in, this other part of this other piece of sheet metal comes out like this, so this gap is essentially this gap right here, and then the bumper gets attached like this. That's what they want us to think. And that's just wrong. It's not me saying, oh, I'm seeing something Photoshop-wise. It's altered. The person clearly wasn't paying attention the way the car physically is supposed to be. Okay? This is a photograph of a 1999 OEM rear bumper cover. The key and most important factor is this guy, this part right here, this lip. Okay? That comes up. This line right here, that is this guy. Okay, and then it makes a turn and is about a good inch in, and this is where the plastic clips hold it to the car. It took me some time. I've been trying to find a 99 RAV4 in my area that I can actually go to and do a little video of the bumper myself so I can physically point that stuff out. I was able to find one that I didn't have too much access to, so I was able to do a little video. I've got the side-by-side comparison so you can see, but I'm also going to attach this video to the end of this video that I'm doing now so that you can get a much bigger view. You can see that is not how the rear bumper cover attaches to the car. It's just physically wrong. Okay? It's pretty clear. Once you get a better understanding of how the rear bumper cover attaches to the car, you can see that it is pretty clear. Okay? I've got pictures. You can see the way that it's these bumper covers, this part right here, this piece of plastic is this part all in here. The bumper comes up and it makes that horizontal, that's got that horizontal piece of plastic. That's the part that butts up to the rear quarter and gets clipped in to the fender, the wheel well, and other parts of the quarter. Okay, you can see this is exactly what I'm talking about, where this lip goes in. It goes into the rear quarter about a good inch, an inch and a half. Okay. One of the benefits, I guess, of this particular RAV4 not being in the best shape is you can see that it's a little bit lower than it should be. It should be, if it was a little bit better shape of this car, it would be tucked up and butted up a little bit better and in the fender better. But you can see what I'm talking about. The rear quarter comes down and goes in, and this guy goes into the car and butts up against the car. Okay, this lip right here is this lip right there. right here I'm showing this is the passenger side. The picture that we're talking about is that they altered is the driver's side, but it's the exact same thing, obviously, and just on the other side of the car. This lip, that inch lip, is the part that goes horizontally under the car, under the rear quarter, goes up in, and of course gets sandwiched to the rear quarter and then gets fastened that way. Okay, so if I did this drawing of how they want us to think that this apparently is, how they want us to think that the rear bumper cover goes on the car, the 99 RAV4 or the first gen RAV4 is made, they would want us to think that the body line comes down, goes in, comes out, and of course if we're going to go by the lip that clearly is there on OEM 99 RAV4 bumper, then that means that the sheet metal has to come down, go in, come back out again, come back, go in again, and of course go down to cover up all of this stuff that they don't want really anybody to see, that nobody needs to see. And the bumper, of course, attaches right here because that's all the stuff that nobody wants or needs to see. So apparently, what they want us to believe is that this is the piece of sheet metal right here, and then you've got this just, I guess, random piece of sheet metal with this body line being this guy right here. It's just wrong, okay? That's just not physically how that is, and that's why. And I've disassembled SUVs and I've put the bumpers on, and that's how, when I was looking at the pictures, that I caught this mistake. Okay, now that you can essentially see this mistake, and we're not talking about the fact that somehow you have these crisp lines right here, but this bumper line is blurry. That's obviously a really poor excuse of trying to cover up more of the altering, but you can see this is exactly how the bumper goes on. And then I have some pictures of 99 RAV4s where you can see now these, of course, don't have the fender flares where this one does, but it doesn't make a difference because the rear bumper is the exact same on the models that came with the fender flares and the ones that didn't. Okay, so that doesn't make any difference. But you can see now exactly how they're supposed to go on the car. This one's a really good example because you can see the body line come down and actually just see it comes down and goes in. It's coming down and going in. That's the body line coming down, and of course it's supposed to go in, but they added this, they added a body line there which is not supposed to be there. And you can see, and then this is the rear bumper. You can see that there's a little bit of a gap, which is a little bit of a gap, which is, you can see the gap. You can see that lip right there and how it attaches to the car. And then how this is not the case. They either want us to think that it's this way, where it comes down and it's got this weird piece of sheet metal, or they want us to think that it comes down and there's that body line right there, that break, and then it continues, and then somehow, obviously, because you can now see that you can't, that it's a fact that there's this lip that goes vertically into the car. See, that's the car, and the lip comes in and kind of gets tucked underneath there. So if I was going to go like this, then you still need to add, and of course you see this little bit of blue sheet metal. That's they apparently thought that they needed to add that it was correct by adding that sheet metal. So if you go by that, then that would be this guy. This line right here is that fake body line, and then the sheet metal goes further down like they portrayed here, but then the bumper cover, I guess, goes in somehow. That's that right there is this lip. I don't think so. It's just wrong. So again, this proves that I'm not pointing out some poor Photoshop mistake. Besides this and the terrible blur line that they, tried to cover up the edge of the bumper, this body line isn't too bad. It's just the fact that they didn't reference the way it's supposed to be in real life, and they got it wrong. That's what proves this photo has been altered. So now that I've pointed that out, go back and watch my other video, look at photos of 99 RAV4s and see how the bumper goes on, and you can come back and see that in this photo, they altered the photo, okay? Okay, so you can see that in that photo, they altered this photo. It proves that they altered the photo. This is, if anybody's going to think that the excuse for this is that they shot it on an old film camera. It was printed, and then it was scanned in later, and then it was emailed, and then it was put online, and then it was downloaded from online, and that making copies of a copy degrades the photo or quality. That's wrong. That's just an excuse, because it's not going to change the physical part of the car. That's not going to add a line in a piece of sheet metal that's physically just not there. Okay, so it's not JPEG compression. It's not making of a copy, and that's why that's like that. It's because they altered the photo. They didn't reference what it's supposed to look like, and they got it wrong. Okay, they wanted to sell a fake, but they didn't actually. When the fake can be compared next to exact replicas, exact real life 99 RAV4 cars, they didn't reference that, and they got it wrong. The biggest, most important part about how this shows that they altered it is if they were okay with doing it once, then we can't trust any of the other photos or evidence. Okay, this shows that altering the evidence, altering photos, was not beneath them. This proves that they were okay with altering evidence, hiding something to further their agenda. And because this proves that they were okay with doing that, then there's nothing as far as evidence or photos that we can trust. I don't see any way around that.